Hello everyone, welcome back to the Netbeans e-commerce tutorial. Today I will present Unit 7, Adding Entity Classes and Session Bean. The purpose for this series of tutorials is to help my students to understand how to use Netbeans IDE to build an e-commerce application. All materials of this tutorial come from netbeans.org website. The student can download the Affordable Bean Project Snapshot 3 from the above website as the starting point for this unit of tutorial. In this unit of tutorial, we will finish the following tasks. First, we will study concepts of EJB, JPA, session beans, and Java EE container. Then, we will review Snapshot 3. Then, we will add entity classes to the project. Then, we will add session beans to the application. Then, we will access data with EJBs. So, what is EJB? EJB stands for Enterprise Java Beans. EJB is a server-side component architecture that enables rapid and simplified development of distributed, transactional, secure, and portable applications. You can think of EJB both as components or Java classes that are incorporated in your project, as well as a framework that provides numerous enterprise-related services. The services we will use for our project are following. First, pooling. For each EJB component, the EJB platform creates a pool of component instances that are shared by clients. At any point in time, each pooled instance is only allowed to be used by a single client. As soon as an instance is finished servicing a client, it is returned to the pool for reuse instead of being discarded for the garbage collector to reclaim. Second service we will use is called thread safety. EJB makes all components thread safe and highly performed in ways that are completely invisible. This means that you can write your server components as if you were developing a single-threaded desktop application. It doesn't matter how complex the component itself is, EJB will make sure it is thread safe. The third services we will use is transactions. EJB supports declarative transaction management that helps you add transactional behavior to components using simple configuration instead of code. In effect, you can designate any component method to be transactional. If the method completes normally, EJB commits the transaction and makes the data change made by the method permanent. Otherwise, the transaction is rolled back. Container-managed EJB transactions are demonstrated in Unit 9, integrating transactional business logic. The fourth services we will use in this application is security. EJB supports integration with the Java Authentication and Authorization Service API, which is JAAS API. So it is easy to complete externalize security and secure application using simple configuration instead of cluttering up your application with security code. In Unit 11, Secure the Application section, we will give a demonstration of EJBs at rows allowed annotation. What is JPA? JPA stands for Java Persistent API, which is an object relational mapping technology that enables applications to manage data between Java objects and a relational database in a way that it is transparent to the developer. JPA has its own rich SQL-like query language for static and dynamic queries. Using the Java persistence query language, your application remains portable across different database vendors. You can avoid the task of writing low-level, verbose, and error-prone JDBC SQL code. JPA transparently provides services for data catching and performance optimization. Now, where EJB and JPA fit, if you recall this picture, which is the model for the architecture for our application, we use MVC model architecture. M stands for model, V stands for view, C stands for controller. We explained this picture before. Now, EJB and the JPA are used in the model part. Okay, you see the JPA will interact with the database. The session bean. Enterprise session beans are invoked by client in order to perform a specific business operation. The name session bean implies that a bean instance is available for a duration of a unit of work. The characteristics of session bean is the following. First, it executes on behalf of a single client. Second, it can be transaction aware. Third, it updates shared data in an underlying database. Fourth, it doesn't represent directly shared data in the database, although it may access and update such data. Fifth, it is relatively short-lived. Sixth, it is removed when the EJB container crashes. The client has to re-establish a new session object to continue computation. The type of session beans. EJB provides three types of session beans. First is stateful. The state of the bean is maintained across multiple method calls. The state refers to the value of its instance variables. Stateless doesn't maintain a conversational state with the client. Singleton instantiate once per application and exists for the life cycle of the application. In our application, we will use stateless session bean. EJB and JPA technologies are defined by the following specification. We just leave the low, like Java Persistent 2.0, Enterprise Java Bean 3.1. There are free implementations of this specification for us to use. For example, Glassfish Application Server contain the reference implementations of all technologies developed under Project Glassfish. It is a Java EE container. So what is a Java EE container? Basically, Java EE container contains three essential components. First, a web or a servlet container, then an EJB container, then a persistent provider. The development scenario for the e-commerce application is displayed in the diagram below. Look at this diagram. Okay, you have a web container, which is GSP pages. You have an EJB container, which are session beans. Then you have persistent provider, which are all those entity classes. Okay, so let us start our second task, reviewing snapshot 3. If you run the snapshot 3, it doesn't work, make sure you check web.xml file, ensure that the resource reference inside the resource reference tag, the resource type, you will have javax.sql connection pool data source. In the snapshot 3, it may be just the data source. It might not work. All paths background removed. If you recall, when we write our code, different part in the web page will have different background because we want to tell the difference. Now, all the background removed, only the main, which is the whole body, have the one background. Okay, head and footer has been implemented. When you run the project, make sure clear the history every time, the browser history every time. Otherwise, sometimes you just change some scripture, then a script, then you rerun, you find, oh, nothing changed because you did not clear the history. Next, examine snapshot 3. If you look at my project window, you see two iFootball Bean project. The top one is the snapshot 3. The bottom one is the one we build through tutorial process. Let's run the top one first. Run the project. Then you will see there is an internal server error. If you look at this error, it says Java.SQL SQL syntax error exception. The category table doesn't exist. But we know the category table exists. What's the problem? Let us double click on the web.xml. If you look at this resource reference, you will see here is javax.sql.dataSource. In the previous unit of tutorial, we said it should be connection pool data source. Now, if I change this, I save it, then I run the program. Now, everything is fine. Let's examine this new result. You will see that compared with what we finished by the end of last tutorial unit, we say the header has been implemented, the footer has been implemented, and all the different background removed, and the whole body just have one background. So, how to make this change? Probably the easiest way, well, it's always good practice if you want to go through everything by yourself. But to save time, or you want to just quickly go through the tutorial to understand what's going on, I think the best way is you copy the changed code. For example, you can copy the whole header file, you open it, you select the whole header file, make a copy it, then you paste to your header file. Paste it here. You copy and paste it here. Okay, do the same thing to the footer file and do the same thing to the CSS file. Now, after you've done this, what I'm going to do, let me close this snapshot 3 first. So I just examine the one we implemented. I already made all these copies. So if you open, for example, .css file, how do you know what is the difference between his version and your previous version? So one thing you can do is you look at the history. Then you pick up one latest history, which is the version you had before you copy and paste. Then you compare, see what's going on. First, you will notice in your old file, body doesn't have background. Now his body has a background. Okay, then nothing else change here. Then you see the background of the more styles defined. Then the background of the man before just simply EEE, now change it to F7, F7, E9. Then you see there is some actual style defined. Then you look at the header. Now, notice the header, now his background is an image. Okay, what is this image? The header background is this image is this. You have this picture. Okay, is the header background. He added. Then you can check the logo. Before the logo has height and width, now you don't have anymore. Now, before the widget bar has a background, now you don't have anymore. Basically, all those background removed. Now you only have one single background. Okay, you see all those background removed. He mentioned before in the tutorial, if you go back to look. Okay, by this, you can see the difference. You can see the difference. Okay, of course, you can do the same thing to examine the header and the footer and anywhere else. For example, you also make sure your index.jsp is updated, because the welcome text is implemented and the way to display the picture, image, some new style added. Okay, after you check to ensure that all the changes you have updated, then you can run your project. You will see you got exactly the same result as his snapshot 3. So you can use this as your start point. Our next task is to add entity class. Command new, open the new file wizard. I will choose persistence and I will choose file type entity classes from database. Then I click on next. Now notice you have available table, you have 5 tables from the database. I add all. Then I click, make sure the box include related table checked. Then next. Next, then the package name I want to call entity. Okay. Then click on next. Use column name in relationships. I click on finish. Now you notice there is an entity package added to source packages. If you expand it, you find that you have 6 classes: category.java, customer.java, custom order.java, product.java. Now notice we have a slightly different from the tutorial picture. The reason is when we do the data design, data model, we did not name it as order product. We still name it as customer order has product. So the new class added is customer order has product PK. Okay. Now your tutorial explained what happened here. Recall that the data model customer order has product table use a composited primary key that comprises the primary key of both customer order and product table. Because of this, the persistent provider creates a separate entity class for the composite key and embeds it into customer order has product entity. Now let us open customer order has product in the editor to inspect it. Okay. Then you will say it has an embedded ID, which is protected customer order has product PK, customer order has product PK. This is slightly different from your tutorial since we name the table differently. In your tutorial, name it as ordered product, which makes more sense. But at that time, we did not change it. We don't have to change it because this really will not affect our implementation. Let's open persistence.xml file. Let's click on the source. Then we will add some code here. I want to add a property. Then the name is Eclipse. Now you can actually just go down Eclipse link.login level. Okay. Then the value you can just type. Then he asks you to choose finest. Now you see this IDE very helpful. Okay, why we want to do this? According to tutorial, you set the login level property to finest so that you can view all possible output produced by the persistence provider when the application runs. This enables you to see the SQL that the persistence provider is using on the database and can facilitate in any required debugging. Our next task is to add session bin. Again, command new, open the new file wizard, then I choose the persistence, then I choose session bin for entity classes, then click on next. Again, we will add all. Okay, then click on next. And I really want the package become session. And create a file factor for each entity class. Yes. Then I click on finish. Now, if you look at it, you have all those facade for each entity class. Okay. Now it looks like, be careful, there is an abstract facade Java created. Okay. Now let's open any of them for investigation. Okay, let's see. According to your tutorial, you want to open product facade Java. Let us open this. Okay. Now you can see there is a persistence context unit name equal a bin pu private entity manager em. The persistence context annotation is used to inject a container managed entity manager into the class. In other words, we rely on Glassfish EJB container to open and close entity managers as and when needed. The unit name element specifies the bin pu persistence unit, which has been defined in the application's persistence.xml file. The entity manager is an integral component of the Java persistence API and is responsible for performing persistence action on the database. Our final task for this unit of tutorial is accessing data with EJBs. So far, we access the database from the application by configuring a data source on Glassfish server, adding a resource reference to the application's deployment descriptor, using GSTL SQL tags in the application's GSP pages. Although it is a variable technique because it allows us to quick set up prototypes that include data from the database. However, it is not a realistic scenario for medium to large-sized applications or applications managed by a team of developers because it is difficult to maintain or scale. Furthermore, in MVC architecture, we don't want data access code in our front end. Using enterprise beans with a persistent model enables us better conform to the MVC pattern by effectively decoupling the presentation and the model components. We are going to finish this task by accomplishing the following three subtasks. First, we remove the GSTL data access logic that we previously set up for the index and the category pages. Then we utilize the data access methods provided by the session beans. Then we store the data in scoped variables so that it can be retrieved from front-end page views. Let us do our last task, accessing data with EJB. First, let's open controller servlet.java for editor. Let us add the following code. Add EJB private category facade category facade. Now you notice there's some errors. You can use Command Shift I to fix all those import. Then I say, yeah, I want to do that. So both fixed. Okay. Then I add the following methods: public void initial throws servlet exception. Then I want to get servlet context dot set attribute, the attribute name called categories, and the attribute value is category facade dot find all. You say if you click on here, he tell you what find all do. So you just hit Enter key, then do this. Okay. Now we finish this code. The purpose for this line of code is to store category list in servlet context. That's the purpose for this line of code. Okay. Now, if you notice here has a hint, say you want to add override annotation, you just click on it, then you click on this, yes, so it's override annotation. Okay. Now, then we have set up application scoped attribute that contain a list of categories. Modify the index page to access the newly created attribute. So I will go to index page, double click on index page. Okay. Then I do not need to use SQL do things anymore. So I highlight it, put a command slash, command it away. Okay. Then I will beginning to modify this for each. Okay. Now this item should be just the categories. Why? Because those you remember in this controller servlet, you set attributes categories. His value is category facade find all. Okay, you find all the category assigned to categories. Okay, so I just needed this. Then next, I will go to web.xml. I want to highlight resource reference because I don't need this anymore. I highlight it, then command slash, then command it away. Let's run the project. Oh, it's not deployed. Let us see what is the problem. Say the server log. Some caused by somehow say the match end tag slash property. If we recall, we only have one place we really did a property, which is in the persistence.xml. Let us look at the source. Actually, we use there. Oh, okay. Here is red. That means mistake. So add slash here. Make sure you add this slash here. Now we redo it. Okay, everything is fine. Let's do category page. The category page requires 3 pieces of data in order to render properly. First, category data. For left column, category buttons. Second, selected category. The selected category is highlighted in the left column and the name of selected category displays above the product table. Third, product data for selected category. For products displayed in the product table. Let's approach each of these 3 pieces of data individually. First, let us do the category data, which is left column. The first step, I will highlight all this query statement, command slash, then I will delete these rows, just the categories, because the categories is attribute of your page context. Okay, now let's run the project. Click on anything. Yeah, so the left column seems like it solved the problem. Okay. Now, I need to solve the selected category problem. Okay, let's go back to here and open controller servlet for editor. Then I need to implement the to-do when it's category. So I need to find when the path is category, what I'm going to do. Okay, which is here. This to-do, I change it to get category ID from request. Okay, so string category ID equal request dot get query string. Now, if category ID not equal null, then we need to get selected category. So selected category equal category for cat dot find short dot pass short category ID. Okay, now we need to fix first variable selected category cannot find. Then we can create a local variable selected category. We choose create a local variable selected category. Okay. Then I will see then get category ID for the request. Then we will place selected category in the request scope. Request dot set attribute selected category Okay, we will do that. Now, in the category.jsp, I will do this. The category title, I will change it. Category title, now I will change it to selected category dot name. Okay. Now let's run the project. Okay, click on, oh, we have an arrow. Let us check, see what is going on. If we open this output window, I want to see the Glassfish server. What is the error message? He said this is passed by java.non.illegal argument exception. You have provided an instance of an incorrect PK class for this find operation. So we need to look at the find. Class expected integer, class received non.short. Okay, here is the problem. When we design our data model, I guess we give let's look at this class. We give this category, his ID is an integer, but in the tutorial, the category ID is tiny integer. Tiny integer, of course, corresponding to the data type is short, but integer corresponding data type is integer. So this is not a match. So we have to change this to integer and this change to pass int. Okay. Now, after this change, let's run the program again. Yeah, now you see the selected category name is there. Okay. Okay. Let's do our last task. Our last task is need to display the product table. Our first step is to get products of selected category. Get products of selected category. So we can say category products equal selected category dot get product collection. Now there is an arrow, you click on it, you want to create a local variable category products. Okay, is a collection of product. Then we want place category product in request scope. So we will say request dot set attribute. We can say this attribute called category products, and this is category products. Okay, so that's we finish whatever we need to do for the controller servlet class. Now go back to category.jsp. First, let us fix a style here first. Okay, this style we forgot to do it before. So in order to match exactly what it looks like, I may want to put a style here. So I may want to have a spin. The style equal background color, which is according to your tutorial F5 EABE. The padding. Okay, if you don't know what is padding, you can study here. Then 7 pixel, comma, semicolon, then cursor. Then the category name, select the category name. Then I need to close this spin. Okay, after fix this, now I need to change here this category products. Seems like nothing we need to change because it's already called category products, right? So there's nothing need to change. We just run the program. Click on, yeah, everything is fine. Okay. This is the end of Unit 7. The next unit is the actual unit, fix the database. There is nothing wrong with our database. However, in order to use provided snapshots in the future, we must modify our 4-bin database to exactly match the 4-bin database that the snapshot use. After that, we will go Unit 8, Managing Session. Again, all materials of this presentation come from Netbeans.org website. Thank you. See you next time.